Hi guys, Arthur here from Homeowner DIY. Guys, this is your quick tip of the week. So this toilet flange here is 19 inches off the wall to center. So typically a toilet flange will be about 12 and a half, 13 inches. So what they had before was a pork chop countertop. So there was a piece that went above the toilet so you really wouldn't notice the distance. Well, the homeowner in this case wants the toilet to be moved back to the typical correct rough-in of 13 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this. Now guys, one thing to keep in mind before you even get started, I have a rigid sea snake. It's a small little camera with a 3-foot cable. I have made sure that the fittings are far back enough. If everything is glued tight together, you're either going to have to put in an offset floor flange or move the fittings in the ground, which is a lot more work. But based on what I saw in the camera, the fittings for the bathroom group here are far back enough where it's not going to be an issue. So what we'll do now is material and tools. Alright guys, this is a materials list. So I have a bag of concrete. I have an orange 4-inch temporary cap, 4x3 90 ABS glue, and then some 4-inch pipe. Guys, this is a material list for this job. So what we'll do now is a tools list. Alright, this is a tools list. So I have a shovel on the left, a 5-gallon bucket for mixing concrete, a jackhammer behind the bucket. For safety equipment, respirator, earplugs, safety glasses, extension cord at the bottom. I have a sawzall, a corded grinder with a diamond blade for concrete, and then I have my post. So hand tools, measuring tape, pencil, whatever else I might need. Guys, this is the tools list for this job. So let's move this toilet flange. Alright, so the piping is going that way. If the piping went this way, it'd probably be easier. You just have to extend it. But in either case, since the piping is going that way, I'm going to be chipping back this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my grinder with a concrete blade, and I'm just going to make a line backwards. So this is the center of where the flange will be, so I'll probably chip back to about there and remove this area. So the reason that I'm going to take a grinder and score the concrete here, you only go down like 1 inch, but it's going to give you a nice clean line, so the transition between new and old concrete will be nice and clean. If everything is broken, then with the rocks and stones and general purpose concrete, you can have a rough transition. That is the reason for using the grinder. So what I'm going to do now is put on my safety equipment, and then I'm going to take the corded grinder and then just go here, here, and then here. And guys, you'll see how much dust this will create. Guys, check out the card on how to use an electric jackhammer. I made a video that details the techniques and what you need to know to make sure that your chipping job goes as smoothly as possible. Alright guys, I didn't mention this earlier, and I should have, but be aware of radiant lines. Now, I hit this one barely, but I did. It's a pinhole leak that I punctured it. So the original plan here was to be right at about 13 inches, 12 and a half, 13 inches. This is a standard toilet. Why would anybody put in a heating line right where a standard toilet would go? I don't know. Next thing, this here, why would you have a heating line behind a toilet when there's a pork chop? It makes no sense. Anyways, I've talked to the homeowner, and the plan is going to be to use a 4x3 90, which is standard for under slab, and then have it back here. So roughly about 11 inches to center, and this will all work out and everything will be fine. Now, I also have to couple this back together as well. You're not supposed to technically have fittings under a slab, but in a situation like this, you don't have a choice. All right, so there's our pipe. So this is the end of the fitting. It'll be like that. And then the top of the 90 will come up at 11 inches. So we're going to do a 10-inch rough-in bowl. Half-inch for drywall will put you at 10.5, and then 11 inches will be just enough for the toilet to fit. So guys, in a case like this where you can't reach all the way around, use a sawzall with a longer blade, because a hacksaw needs a lot more space with the frame. With a sawzall, you just need enough space for the blade to go through. And when you're going to glue, make sure you dig all the way around the pipe so you can glue it. Alright, I've glued the piece of forms pipe to the end of the 90. It'll give me levers to straighten the 90 out. So in this case here, the back to front like this towards the wall you cannot adjust, but the left and right you can. So we want to make sure that this thing is going to go up relatively plumb, relatively straight. Okay, so we have enough space from the wall, and now we're going to check our plumb. So this plumb is coming up nice and straight. So with this all done now, what I can do is start backfilling the ground and get ready for pouring concrete. Okay, so I've backfilled it. I compressed it down and I soaked everything with water. Guys, make sure that you wet down the concrete so the new and old will stick together. So I've wetted this down. I'm going to wait 15 minutes. And then I'm going to wet it one more time before I start pouring in concrete. Alright, so I soaked the concrete one more time, wet it down. Alright, so make sure you stab everything downward to get the air out. So for the heating line, I coupled it back together and I used aqua barrier PEX, which is specifically used for heating. You can't just use regular PEX. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape this back and smooth everything out. Alright, so the concrete's been poured, everything has been stabbed to get the air out. Now you may be wondering, why are the blocks there? Just before I poured, the homeowner says that they want to put an offset floor flange because the toilet they want is a 12-inch rough-in, while I'm at 11. At least they told me before I poured. Anyway, so this is what was in the ground. So they had 3-inch 4x3 bushing, and then they came up to the flange here. I've never seen this done like this before. It's technically not allowed. You can't go from bigger to smaller, but this should have been a simple project, but at least I'm done. Guys, make sure that you come back and smooth out your concrete after about 45 minutes or an hour to make sure everything is nice and level. Otherwise, you're going to have to do a little bit of grinding. But guys, that is your quick tip of the week.